Since the Sandbox fans, we're back. One last episode before the regular season starts. We're here for our stat leaders and award predictions. This is a fun one. Always good to look back on this at the end of the year and see whose dots, were right. Past couple seasons, we've had a couple sprinkled throughout. So we're going to give you guys some numbers. We're going to give you guys some players. We're going to break down, some of the biggest awards and recognition throughout the entire NFL. Twon, any hot takes here, or is it just kind of going through and
nothing? No crazy hot takes. Again, there are ones that not everything's a lock. Obviously, there are ones like the MVP. I think is pretty straightforward with mine. I don't think it's a piping hot take at all. I don't look at any of these as super hot takes. Some of them are different, but nothing that you're
crazy.
Dude, there's no fucking way.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to? Yeah, what were we gonna say?
I was gonna say we'll see. I don't know. What about you? Do you think you got any spicy ones? Really spicy ones?
Not really spicy. Honestly, some different names because I just feel if you just put the first 5 guys in fantasy football in this list, and it's just hey, that's not gonna happen because it just never works out like that. But I'm gonna start with my passing yard leader, and the number I have here is around 4,700. Last year, the top passing leader was Tua at 46 mid.
Yep.
Wasn't anything too crazy. We've obviously seen, 5,000 passing yard seasons. I don't think that's this year. I have 2 names here, and I kind of just wanted to talk about it because I feel either one of these guys could, but it just depends on health and some surrounding factors as part of that. So one who I don't want to say is my favorite, but just kind of who I was thinking if their year pans out how it's supposed to. Have Joe Burrow on here.
Great.
And I just think that kind of goes hand in hand with me thinking that Jamar Chase can have a crazy season. I know, everything going on, all the drama and rumors about week 1 and stuff like that. But if Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow on the field together, they're going to ball. There's no question about that. But 2, the second one I wanted to toss in here, isn't going to be a likely candidate for this one. You're going to get all jacked up when I say it too. But I'm excited. I think it's actually a possibility, and this is just kind of more of what I was talking about, with this team this year and growing and expanding, as an offense. It's the same yardage number, that 4,700 number. Jared Goff.
Love it.
I actually think, Jared Goff could be that guy that could distribute the ball like this. I know that they love to run the football, but those backs can catch the ball. They have high expectations for Jameson Williams, and this is a team that only kept 4 wide receivers on their roster after cuts, and they feel pretty good about that. They signed Allen Robinson to, the practice squad, and if he's, your worst receiver on, your roster, I know he's washed up now, but that's pretty good experience to bring to a room and everything like that. We know Amon-Ra has an untapped ceiling, so that guy could catch close to 2,000. And I just think Jared Goff distributes the ball well. I think they're going to be able to play balance, and I think people will really respect the run game, and he can let it fly. We've seen that.
Do you think the Lions are a destination place for a wide receiver that's getting traded in the middle of the season? If we see, it won't be Christian Watson because they won't do it in the division. I don't think they would send him to Detroit. But do you see him, the Lions, as a landing place for any receiver that's in the trade market right now?
Not like a T. Higgins.
Not T, but someone like a wide receiver 3?
Yeah, definitely not like a top dog. I'm just going to make this in a comparison part of a conversation. Like you said, not the Packers, but a team that has 5 solid wide receivers like that, right? And it's hey, we either can't feed all these guys and someone's not happy, or maybe they just want draft picks and they're busting on the year. So Cortland Sutton would be a really interesting name to go there, more of a veteran guy. They don't need a slot dude. They just need a reliable another pass catcher. And I think Jameson might have a more dependable skill set as a 3 rather than as a 2. And I know Laporte is going to get a ton of action there. So they would just have really strategic decisions on how to slice up the field. And I think that would work out well for them. I don't think a top guy because they just paid him on Raw. And I think David Montgomery's getting a hefty, paycheck for a running back position. Sewell just got paid, so I don't think that they want to invest too much. Knowing
also,
that.
So
that's
they paid guys.
Yeah, right. So, and I think that they feel confident about their guys too. And this is just a conversation that we have with the Texans, right? you're going to spread yourself too thin and like you might have guys unhappy, or trying to give these guys a little bit of extra work and them just like thriving in that opportunity. I feel like they're more of like that team. I think health plays a large part into that conversation, but more on like the veteran type of thing rather than, oh yeah, like we need a new young piece to add here that wasn't working out somewhere else.
I got a name that's not necessarily a veteran, but somebody that I would put as wide receiver 4 on their chart. I think could be wide receiver 3 or 4 on the Lions, but could be a good piece. He's a different kind of receiver than that they have.
Hear it.
Alec Pierce.
Okay.
I could see Alec Pierce. I think he's coming up on the last year of his contract. I think that you're looking at Indy, and when we're talking about their receiver room, you got Downs, you just drafted Adonai Mitchell, and obviously you have Pittman. I think all three of those guys are better than Alec Pierce.
For sure.
And I think while the Colts could having a fourth receiver could be very big for them, they might have younger guys that they want to put in there. And again, Alec Pierce is not old, but they might be able to get something for him before they have to make a decision.
Yeah, nothing crazy either. That wouldn't be like a lot of compensation, maybe even a pick swap. Since you brought it to like that type of a conversation, I don't think this guy would be on the move, but I know like this team hasn't locked him up like long term and could be like that type of fit. Like a Darius Slayton would fit in like really well there. Like probably like I think personally like a little bit better than Pierce. Like if you want me to be honest,
I think so too. I think he's a quick guy over there. My thing with Pierce, I think Pierce is bigger than everyone that they have over there in Detroit. So I think he brings a different kind of like jump ball necessarily. But again, how often do you think the Lions are going to actually throw a jump ball? They're going to try and hit him on a slant. They're going to try and hit
Laporta, or
like Laporta, in the red zone.
Gibbs in a
like
wheel or a slant, a screen, whatever.
So they'll pull Jared Goff out, they'll run Montgomery and Gibbs, and then like have like some kind of swing play, like it's a wildcat almost. That's just how I see the offense going in the red zone. But kicking it over to my passing yards leader, I don't know that it'll come to a shock to anyone. 47 is a good number. I did take it a step up. I went to 48. Okay, could be up to 49. CJ Stroud.
I mean, that's consistent with where you've been. So.
It is. It's where I'm seeing them. And again, with just all the weapons that they have, I think they're going to be a team that likes to sling the ball. And they'll be able to give it to Joe Mixon, and he'll be productive. But I think they're going to be in situations where teams are going to play them really competitively. I think you're going to see teams take their best shots at a team like the Texans, maybe mix in some plays that you don't see before, get some surprise touchdowns. And I think CJ Stroud is going to thrive. I really think he does. He has another flashy piece at the wide receiver position that maybe it does hurt him, but again, I think he's got the balls to say, shut your mouth, Diggs. We want to go win a title. And I think Diggs will fall in line to someone that'll give him the lip. I honestly think he's that kind of guy. I think he responds to
just not Josh
leadership.
Allen. Yeah.
I just think Josh Allen's too much of a homie, whereas like CJ Stroud's like, I'm the tough leader. Like we're going to do what we got to do to win. If you don't like it, pound sand. I think where Josh Allen's like, dude, we're homies. Like, why are you bugging out? Like, I think he's too chill for someone like Stephon Diggs. I think Stephon Diggs responds to very strong leadership.
Okay. That's an interesting perspective on like that type of like breakdown of demographic. I didn't think like Stroud really like struck me that way, but I think how their play on the field kind of dictates this year might make me feel like a little bit more of that. And I feel like that is the expectation for the Texans. Like, if it all goes well, like, CJ should throw for 500-600 more yards. That would get him around that number. And, like, they should win 11-plus games. But, like, it all just has to work out perfectly for that to happen. And we know in, like, the NFL, that typically, I don't want to say typically doesn't happen, but more than likely doesn't. Right. But Stroud is definitely a name that should be in that conversation, no doubt. Do you have a passing touchdown leader?
I do.
Is it also Stroud?
No. It's Pat Mahomes.
Okay. Wow.
I think when they get to that goal line, there's going to be moments where they'll run it in, but I think they're going to run a lot of plays where it's Mahomes getting like a 1-yard touchdown pass. I think we're going to see a lot of that.
The underhand, like in the middle,
the little shovels while someone's in motion and stuff like that. I can see that happening a lot. I can also see a lot of deep play touchdowns with when Hollywood comes back. He's a deep play guy. Xavier Worthy, deep play guy. Maybe Sky Moore gets one or two this year.
Some touch passes.
Exactly. I think their deep threats evolved from Marquez Valdez-Scantling to a guy like Hollywood to a guy like Xavier Worthy. And again, you got Kelsey. Maybe he's more healthy this year. Well, he'll maybe get more than 5 touchdowns than he did last year. So I'm going Mahomes here. I think there's also rushing ability.
What's the number for the passing touchdowns? Do you know? Or do you want to give a guess?
Passing touchdowns, I'm going to go 40.
Okay.
I think he can get to 40.
Okay. Interesting.
And which is weird because 40 is like not this crazy big number, but it's last year, like, there weren't a lot of passing touchdowns. We saw a lot of rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think this year things are going to start to get
switch
a little bit.
Yeah, especially with the way the rules go and the way the offenses have been built and things like that. Gomes, I hope you like the fucking passing yards guy, because we got you back here with Burrow and we took care of Twon with Goff. Yeah.
There you go.
So hopefully he stays healthy and, everything works out. But, I'm taking care of all my guys today. So my passing touchdown leader, you have big expectations for Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray can lead the NFL in passing touchdowns. I think they're relying on James Conner to be heavily involved in the ground game. But if everyone wants to have these expectations for McBride and everyone wants to have these expectations for MHJ, you have Michael Wilson that people are confident about, and like Trey Benson can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think that they're going to score more passing touchdowns than rushing touchdowns, and I think that this is a pass-heavy team with Kyler Murray at quarterback. I think 37 is the number for him, and I think that it'll be very competitive, like around that number. Like you said, 40 with Mahomes. I think 37 is where it would be, but if this happens for the Cardinals, like he throws 37 touchdowns, like they can win like 9 games,
they
9+ games.
They seriously can.
I don't see them playing like lockdown defense and like winning games like that. So they would have to be putting up 35+ points a game for that to kind of be the case. So I'd love to hear what you think about Kyler Murray there.
Love it. I think they're going to be in a position where they want to throw the ball a lot too. And while James Conner, I think, is going to command a little bit of a workload at the beginning of the season, I also see this turning into a Trey Benson backfield where Benson's going to get the ball a lot, but they're going to want to rely on Kyler Murray. They're going to want to show Kyler Murray that they're relying on Kyler Murray too. So I think he's going to get fed, and I think he's the ability to play really well. Again, they got that piece, Paris Johnson, last year as their left tackle, somebody to really defend him. I think he can do it. So I think you'll see improvement from Paris Johnson's game, which I think in turn will see improvement in Kyler Murray's game.
For sure. Twon, receiving yards.
Receiving yards. Steve, we might have the same guy here. And you might have convinced me in the middle of the offseason to do it. It is Jamar Chase.
It is Jamar Chase. I want to know what your number is, though.
1650.
Oh, that's not good enough.
You think it's low?
1834.
Wow. All right. I love it. I love you almost 200 yards more than me.
If we want to talk about top receiving seasons, like let's consider last year's numbers. Like, Tyreek, CD, JJ, they've all had crazy seasons before. Not that we haven't seen a season like this from JJ, because he's gone about that 15 number, but he's in that fuck you, pay me type of mentality right now. And where I'm giving Burrow the passing yards leader, who else is going to catch all those yards? Because midseason, T. Higgins is going to be gone. Burton is going to be like a solid guy for them. I know they have a lot of young playmakers that they're excited about, and I think that they might be a more balanced football team than people think. Like, I think Zach Moss and Chase Brown could be good complements for the way that offense is going to run.
Chase Brown showed flashes last year.
For sure.
In the passing game, too. Like, he can catch
the ball.
And take it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that this is Chase's season. Even if he sits out week 1 versus the Patriots, I think he can be productive enough in 16 weeks to still get 1,800 yards. 1834. This is, look, we're making predictions. We're being bold. We're having fun here. That's the number to surpass for the season, and Jamar Chase got to do it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Do you got Jamar Chase for touchdowns, too?
I don't. Touchdowns, Garrett Wilson.
Love it.
15 touchdowns for Garrett Wilson. I want to say it's going to be a heavy Brees year, like running the ball and, catching like with that scrimmage yard ability. But I honestly think like Garrett Wilson like is going to like come out to the scene, prove like his worth. There's a lot of not positive things coming out of New York as of recently. I don't know if like you've heard and seen like all that.
New York media, brother.
Yeah, no,
that's just what it is.
No,
like, you can't get out of the spotlight, and it sells more to be bad than it does to be good. So I'm gonna block it out till I watch them play.
No, and rightfully so. And me saying Garrett Wilson here isn't falling into that whatsoever. Did listen to the Move the Sticks podcast this morning, and they have the most first round picks out of any team in the NFL. Former first rounders. I want to say it was around like 16 or 17. Not all like self-drafted, but like signs, like all of that brought in together. Like that's a shit ton.
How many do you think we can name?
We could probably name like most of them like first round picks. We're not going to do that right now.
Give me a little side segment here.
No. I mean, it would be fun. It would be fun to do. But I got a lot here that I kind of want to discuss. But I think it's going to be the overdue season we were waiting for Garrett Wilson, and kind of like that next guy to be the next $30 million wide receiver.
I like it. I like it a lot. Steve, I'm going to go with a not too flashy pick, but somebody that's definitely going to be in the conversation. It's CeeDee Lamb, and 15 was my number as well. So I think CeeDee Lamb can be in that situation. I think with how much they're paying him, they need him to produce. They will force him the ball if they have to. And I also think their running back room's a little bit weaker than the Jets, if I'm being honest. Again, they have a little more well-roundedness with signing a Dalvin, signing a Zeke, but you're looking at guys at the upper end of their career here. And I know Dowdle is decent.
Dalvin
But
Cook,
I think Brees is going to command more volume than
Zeke.
the Cowboys running room.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I'm going with CD. 15 is my number.
Yeah, but like with that, you also like expect the Cowboys to like take steps back. So like, is this just kind of thinking like, hey, CD's like our only option?
Yeah, I think he's their best option. I don't even think it's really that close. I think Ferguson's going to catch a couple of touchdowns as well.
For sure.
But you look at their wide receiver room, I think Cooks is only catching a deep ball touchdown. Like, I don't see him catching something from the 20 and in. So
I got you.
I just think CD's going to command more volume too. I think it's there.
You have catches? I have catches.
For CD or for most receptions?
Most receptions in the season.
I'll come up with one right now.
All right, I can give you mine and give you some more time.
Yeah.
My reception leader on the year is Amon-Ra St. Brown with 155 catches. Shit ton of catches. We saw what this dude did, 115 last year. Banged up, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. If he has a fully healthy season this year, I definitely expect this dude to get fed. Think of it, like if 16 games, that's 10 catches a game. Like I know like some games might be a little bit more than that, some games might be a little bit less, but in that passing offense, that's what I'm expecting out of a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. And especially where he's like that smaller inside type of stature, I think that caters to his skill set tremendously. So I know that's a hefty amount, but I think Amon-Ra is a guy that can lead the NFL in receptions.
I love it. I'm going to go with another dude that got paid. Amon-Ra's up there. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
I think that offense
I thought you were just about to say Ayuk.
No. I think there's too much volume in that offense to go around to pick an Ayuk, but I'm going to go with JJ. I think that Kevin O'Connell wants to make this a heavy passing offense, and I think he's going to command the lion's share. They just paid him. He's going to earn his dough, and I think Justin Jefferson is better than better at getting open than anybody in the entire NFL,
for sure,
including CD, including Chase. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson here, and I think the Vikings are going to be in situations where they want to throw the football, and I don't think there's a coach that can drop a play better for a receiver than Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah,
so I'm going to go with the Vikings, and I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson here.
Okay. Came up with that on the spot. We love it. Yep. We're going to move over to rushing yards. This is going to be an interesting one. Don't have the number as high as maybe, prior years or things like that. 1,500 is still like a pretty big number. I don't know if that's like a number that you were sitting around.
Yep.
But I have two guys here. One I feel like is more of like an out front favorite and it makes me kind of like feel a little bit weary about it, which is why I gave a second guy. So my first one, Bijan. I think Bijan can absolutely do that if he gets... And look, like Bijan was the third best running back in all of football last year. So like he didn't have a bad season, but he also got held out of a lot of games. He got kind of limited a little bit. So if he gets absolutely unleashed this year and the Falcons are a 13, 14 win football team like you'd think that they can be, then this should be around the number that he could get, and I just think he has that break-off ability. But a guy that might be a little bit more on the quieter side, but I think like he's had the health, he's in an offense that complements him, and I think as long as he stays healthy, it's definitely doable. Travis Etienne, I think, can be around that 1,500 rushing yard number too. I have big expectations from this year.
Very, very good pick. And it's not like the flashy pick too, so I love to see it. My comp for something similar to Travis Etienne could be Kenneth Walker, but he's not my guy. I think Kenneth Walker can demand a ton of lion's share from that room, but I'm going to go with something that's not as sexy. It's pretty on par with like
CMC?
what people would put in the top five. No. I don't want to. That's too boring.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Brees.
Okay.
I do think that the Jets are going to use Aaron Rodgers to the best of his ability. But I also think they know that we're looking at a 40-year-old here. Let's not put too much on him. We have one of the best running backs in the league. Let's use him while he's on his rookie contract. I think Brees is going to command a lot from this offense.
Between Brees and Bijan, pure runner, not like scrimmage, not pass catching ability, who do you feel like is the best pure runner out of the two of them?
Pure runner?
I think it's close.
I'm going to go Bijan. Yeah? I'm going to go with Bijan. It is very close. And maybe I am getting clouded by the fact that he can catch the ball, and every time I see him, he's putting on a move that puts somebody in a complete blender. But I think in terms of pure runner, I'm going to give a slight edge to Bijan just from what I've seen.
It's interesting.
I like how Breece Hall runs the football, though, because I think...
I just think Breece has more of like that home run ability. It's like the outside and gone.
Yep.
Like whereas like Bijan can like give you like a power O on the left or right side, break a tackle, and then kind of dip. Like I feel like Breece might be able to see like an open hole and just like hit that a tad quicker.
Yep. So, you know what? JT is like that too. Jonathan Taylor is just like that, where if there's a hole, he can just take it. 60 yards and gone.
Like I think, like I would say Breece kind of gives me more of like the Jamal Charles-esque type of vibes. Yeah. And like Bijan kind of reminds me of like a little bit more of like a Matt Forte type of vibe. And like
that's a good throwback.
Both of those guys very great at their position and with their skill set, but that's just kind of where I see them aligned to what some of our audience would be able to like understand and like see that comparison.
Look at this though. Last year we're talking James Starks. This year we're talking Matt Forte and Jamal Charles. I love it.
We got it all. We're covering the past like 15 years of football here. Outside of that, like we still watch football, but it just wasn't like
your brain's not processing. Like again, we're young, dude.
Yeah,
we get to 15 years ago. We're 12 years
13,
old.
Yeah. So like obviously still football, but you're just learning, a lot of the guys and things like that. My touchdown leader, a name you mentioned, not in the yardage, but Kenneth Walker is going to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns.
I love that a lot. I think that they are going to be looking to run that football when they get to the red zone too, and not like they don't have a Tyler Lockett who can run a slant, or a Jackson Smith and Jigba who can run a slant, or a DK Metcalf who's going to go up and get it. Like those, if you have to play one-on-one on those three guys, you're going to run into serious problems.
Yeah.
But I think that that's going to take a lot of attention away from Kenneth Walker when they get to the red zone, and I can see.
Is that who you had?
It's not who I had.
Let's hear it.
Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
Take it up. Like, don't force Anthony Richardson to, on the 1 yard line, get himself hurt. Like, don't force him to do that. You got a quarterback, and I think Anthony Richardson is going to get a lot of rushing touchdowns for a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think if they want to keep him as healthy as possible, don't force it on
him. Give it a JT.
You paid him. He's going to produce for you. He's a top 5 running back in the NFL skill-wise.
No doubt.
I'd say he could be top 3, but again, you're interchanging him with Breece, I think, because you got Bijan and CMC.
Health, dependability.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the number?
The number 14.
That's what I got for Kenneth Walker.
I like it. Yeah. I like it a lot. So Jonathan Taylor, he's going to get in the end zone, but there's potential that he could get 18 if they decide. Let's not force it on Anthony Richardson, but he's got Anthony Richardson. You'd be dumb to not use him.
For sure.
So
the good thing for Kenneth Walker is like they don't really have like that rushing quarterback threat. It's like, hey, he can break it from the 50 and just take off, but you can give it to him on the goal line too, and he can thump you, like straight dump you in. Don't have any receptions for the running backs. That's not something we really need to spend a lot of time on to predict there.
I didn't do that either.
Yeah, gonna switch. Well, we can go to the highest scoring offense before we go to the defensive side of the ball. I have 2 here. Interested to hear like a team that you think could be the highest scoring offense in the NFL and why.
Detroit's in there.
Detroit's on here for me. I have one other team, and it's not flashy at all.
The LA Rams.
Rams, okay.
I think the LA Rams have a lot of pieces, and I think they have that ability to put points up on people. And their defense is a little bit of a question mark to me, where I think they can get scored on, and I think they can go out back on the field a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the Rams and the Lions, 2 teams from the NFC there.
Yeah, when we were in that June-July mark, I was a lot higher on the Rams. I also have to keep in mind, hey, Stafford has played the past 2 years. I don't want to say pretty injury-free, but things that he's been able to deal with and keep him on the field. Something I'm a little bit more concerned about this year, honestly. Miami has to be one of the highest scoring offenses just because the way that they're built, the way that they run their offense, and their personnel, right? They're not going to beat you by keeping you to 13, 14 points. They're going to beat you because you can't cover their offense one-on-one at any position. Yep. And if they're not scoring, 23 plus points a week, something's not working there. And with Tyreek there for, the twilight of his career at this point in time, after he just signed his extension, I think it's now or never to really make sure that he's getting a hefty amount of passes. He's going to have 120 plus receptions as long as he's on the field for, all the games. And we saw last year at 4,600 that Tua can get him the ball successfully. I'd like to think that with all the camaraderie and understanding of the scheme and the playbook, that they can only go in an upward direction with the offense. I can't say the same thing about the defense.
And we'll see with Miami. That's, again, just one of those teams that can beat you on 75 yards like that. It's a really good pick.
They won't score 72 again, though. That
was insane. Another team I'm just going to throw in there, if everything goes right,
don't say the
stays
Raiders.
healthy. No, it's the Falcons.
Okay.
If things go right, like, they can be a team that puts up points on you. They got a guy that likes to throw the ball a lot. They got some good weapons. They got a good receiver in Drake London. They got a good tight end in Kyle Pitts. They got a top tier running back in Bijan Robinson, and you got an O-line that's going to break the defense down throughout the game. So
the Falcons should be a T. Higgins team. That's of a conversation.
That's a great T. Higgins team. I agree with that 100% because you lose. If you don't have Rondale Moore, I might say things differently. See how it works out. But that's a team that I can see getting T. Higgins and being successful.
For sure. Like I just feel like they need to, and I know like as the season like continues, like there's going to be more teams that are going to be in like that wide receiver needy type of market, or like the teams that are looking to expend a wide receiver just because maybe they found a young guy, and things like that. So we'll see how it all really works out.
If they get him and sign him too, that sets him up for after Kirk for Penix. So that sets him up perfect.
Absolutely. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball before we get to our big awards. First thing I want to talk about is sacks. I have a feeling that we're going to have two of the same names here for this conversation. Going to defer to you. Give me your sack leader and a number.
23.5.
All right. First, I already disagree because he ain't breaking Strahan's record, but okay.
Max Crosby.
Okay.
I think Max Crosby's going to do it.
I have Crosby here. The number's 20. I don't want to say that nobody's going to break Strahan's record because, like, people get real close. But I also just feel like, not that there have been better seasons, but, like, I don't want to say if J.J. Watt didn't do it that no one's going to do it, but, like, that dude was a fucking beast, bro.
TJ Sneaky plays all fucking 17 games. He's doing it, like, more than once.
No, I know, yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
Did he get, like, 22 or, like, not? Yeah, 22 just under.
And he missed, like, 4 games.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane
And
work.
there was, like, an iffy type of, like, half sack, too, right? Like, so, like, a quarterback just, like, dropped and he tagged him and,
it's a half instead of a full. Yeah, it's like.
It was weird.
But I also look at the division that they're in. I do think that the Chiefs O-line, he can blow by some of those tackles. And while Mahomes is very difficult to tackle, he might get a couple against them. He plays them twice. I think he's going to get a couple against Justin Herbert.
Oh, that'll be tough, though. Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt.
I know, those are really good guys, but if he's going up against a Joe Alt, and there's going to be that first game where they play each other where Joe Alt goes,
holy
fuck,
shit, yeah.
This dude's legit.
Yeah.
And Max Crosby's a guy that's criminally slept on. You forget about him at times. I'm sure real NFL teams don't forget about him,
no,
but the media forgets about him all the fucking time.
But it's not only that. It's like you got Christian Wilkins now, so it's just how then are you going to slice it? It's like if you allocate a running back and a tight end to those two dudes, like, Tyree Wilson has to get to the quarterback, dude. He has to.
And he's straight up having like 7.5, 8 sacks against just the Broncos.
Yeah, do you think so?
Dude, literally. I think who's going to block for him? McGlinchey? I think McGlinchey is one of the most overpaid offensive linemen in the league. They just paid him because they needed a top offensive lineman. I don't think he's as good as everyone says.
Yeah, my other guy, Aiden Hutchinson. I feel like
great.
If the Lions defense is built the way that they should be, right? And their secondary plays to the expectation that they have this year. They have, I don't want to say 2 elite prospects, but 2 top-tier talent prospects at the corner position. Brought in some veterans, Brian Branch in the backfield, and, more depth on the interior defensive front to, like, hey, this should give our guys extra time to cover, and not only that, but less time to get to the quarterback. So,
who's the guy they have playing D tackle? Like tackle?
They just brought from the Bengals. Here we go.
Rakestraw,
Marcus Davenport, former first-round pick. Aleem McNeil.
Aleem McNeil is, I think, the guy that I'm thinking. He played for them last year.
DJ Reader.
That's a Bengals guy.
Yep. Jack Campbell still with the linebackers. Yep. Anzalone. They brought in Carlton Davis.
Terrion Arnold.
They got Malcolm Rodriguez still. Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch, defense, Kirby Joseph. Yeah.
Yeah, you got Branch and Kirby Joseph. That's pretty. Kirby Joseph was a fucking safety 3 last year, which is crazy to think about.
Him and Malik Nabers had some interesting altercations this offseason.
We'll see.
Yeah, they scrapped a little bit.
I love it.
But Hutcher Crosby, I think they could both be around that 20 number.
Yep.
My interceptions leader, Derek Stingley. Look, like if you get a Derek Stingley healthy, we saw, especially versus like the Giants, like it just felt like that was a good example to kind of like bring up. Like he had one-on-one coverage and he has great ball skills and made a better play on the ball in one-on-one coverage than Jalen Hyatt did at that point in time to cause an interception in the red zone. And I think like that's why you go and get a guy like Derek Stingley and continue to build the defense around him. If you know you got Petrie like floating over the top, like you got that covered. So Derek Stingley can take a side to himself. He could take that best corner and just kind of keep it on lock. Obviously, sometimes the safety position is a little bit more open to getting those turnovers because they have that free ability to kind of read the quarterback's eyes and kind of see the whole playing field. But if I see more plays like that, then I absolutely think Derek Stingley can get thrown at, and I think he can make better plays on the ball than some of those wide receivers for his coverage skills.
And what you just brought up about the safeties is exactly why I picked a safety. Did the same thing last year. I think I picked Minka last year, who, if I'm incorrect, he tied or
yeah, he didn't finish the year.
He didn't finish the year, but didn't he still have like 5-6 picks?
Don't remember.
I thought he had some, but I think Deron Bland ended up tying for first as well with someone. So I don't think it's going to be like that again, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with
Kyle Hamilton.
Jesse Bates.
Oh, really?
I'm going Jesse Bates. I think Kyle Hamilton is a very, very like the top tier safety.
Just not,
but I don't think
like
he's going to be interception focused. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be ball hawking. I think he's going to be like very focused on the quarterback and just making the right play.
Yeah.
Whereas I do think Jesse Bates always makes the right play, but I think his hands are just a little bit better, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to go with Jesse Bates here, and I think having a guy like AJ Terrell where he's just going to lock down one guy, I think Jesse Bates is going to be free to roam around even more than we see other safeties do.
You think he's more of the floater than Simmons, Justin Simmons? I feel like that's like the
I think
interesting
Simmons
part
will
of it.
float, but again, I think Jesse Bates again is just going to be quicker with the reaction time and getting to the ball too. And I think he's going to help the weaker corner more than Justin Simmons will. I think Justin Simmons will kind of play a little bit more middle.
I just think at this point in their career, they might trust Jesse Bates a little bit more in coverage than Justin Simmons, and they might use like that veteran, like they're both veterans at this point, but they might use Simmons' veteran ability to just kind of like roam around a little bit. And it's also going to be like a different team, a different scheme fit. Yeah. It might not all come together with just like the expectations that we have for Justin Simmons for like the past couple years too.
And
so.
I like Bates playing there for a whole year more because you saw year one he made an insane
huge impact.
Right
absolutely.
So I just think it's going to stay that way.
Absolutely. Do you have a lowest amount of total points allowed on the defensive side of the ball?
Lowest amount of total points allowed. So obviously we were looking at a premier defense now. You could look at a team like the Jets, but I am going to go with, and again, you can look at a team like the Browns, but I'm not going to pick the Browns because I think that's a very, very strong division that's going to score points. So I look at a team, and when I do this, I look at a team in a worse division. I look at one of the Souths.
The Bucks?
I think the Bucks.
Yeah?
I really think the Bucks could be a good one. That's funny you picked that. I was sitting there, I'm like, other than the Falcons, I think that the Saints are going to struggle to score points. I think the Panthers are going to struggle to score points. Another team, oddly enough, that I can see, Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle's another team that I'm going to throw in that conversation. So I'm picking a lot of NFC teams.
Yeah.
I just think the AFC has way too many good teams where points are going to go up.
I'm also going to go with an NFC team, and that's the Green Bay Packers.
I like it.
One, they have, a field advantage for the second it hits November for the rest of the year. It makes it a lot harder for teams to obviously go there and score. And like the Colts, and, there's some dome games if they play division opponents and the Lions and, the Vikings and things like that. But I think they're a sound unit and group, and everybody puts like the pressure and the expectations on the Texans, but I think like their defense is in a very similar spot as like Houston. And like I know we keep like, especially on our podcast, we keep comparing Green Bay and Houston, but that's just kind of how I feel like where they're at. They're like the up next to, I don't want to say be like dynasty, but go on a longevity run on top of their respective conferences for the way that they're built and the personnel that they have. They have top corners, signed a big safety, they have decent linebackers, and I think their defensive line is extremely underrated for the talent that they have. And it's not like a crazy number. Like I think like around like 18-ish could be the number for the lowest amount of total points scored.
They're so well coached too.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother piece of it. Side question. Are the Patriots a top 10 defense in terms of points
Not
allowed
at
this
all.
year?
Not allowed.
don't think so?
Not at all.
Difficult schedule, or you just think personnel and coaching?
I think it's all of that. Like I just think that there's gonna be too much pressure on the Patriots defense to like keep them in games with the way like everything's going on and things like that. And like that, this isn't like, I'm not saying this in like a disrespectful manner to like Patriots fans. I just think like, hey, it's like a harsh reality, like what's going on in New England. Like we were talking about this the other night while we were at like sending Nicholas off to school. Like Ben was talking about the Patriots, and like that's all like they know about the Patriots, just like with the exception of like these past couple years. And I think like they still have very similar personnel, but I think there is going to be different terminology. I think the scheme is going to be a little bit different. Like Mayo obviously like played for them and things like that, and his strong suit, his forte, is the defensive side of the ball. But you know, being able to keep a lot of those same guys is great. I'm really concerned about them being able to get after the passer. Like, I know you have Barmore and like Keon White and guys like that, but taking Judon out of there with his production in respect just makes game planning like drastically different. And I think it's going to be so deflating, especially early on in the season with Jacoby like running the show.
Yeah.
That a lot of those guys, I don't want to say are going to give up, because like that's not the Patriot way, if there is a Patriot way anymore. But I just don't think like the mental toughness to like still be your best throughout is going to be there. And I think like we've kind of seen that with the Patriots, maybe not on the defensive side of the ball, but definitely on the offense.
So you don't think Josh Uche can come in and play a Judon role like pretty much immediately?
I think like Patriot fans think they can. But
I definitely can, but again, you know how I'm going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Like here's my thing, right? Like Giants pass rushers, like just to compare for like my own team with Brian Burns and like Thibodeau, right? I think one of these guys can have a good season, but I'm not expecting both of these guys to have 15 plus sacks. And I would debate that those two names are even bigger than Judon was like last year. So if I don't have that expectations about guys in a defense that I feel like could be better this year, not last year or years prior, and individual specialists that I feel like are more talented at that position, I don't think like Uche is going to come out of like nowhere and just have like a 14 sack season. Do I think he can get like 8 to 12? Like potentially, yeah. Like I think it's closer to like the 8.5, like 9 area. And I just think like what is the expectation like for him? Like, is this going to be like a 3-down guy? Because like if he's doing 3 downs because he's the best pass rusher on the field, by the time the fourth quarter comes around, no matter how good he is, he's going to be fucking gassed because he's doing that for 17 weeks.
I know.
So that's my whole thing is like they don't have, you know, a room of guys, and I feel like that's when like you talked about with Crosby, like we talked about 4 guys on that defense that are going to help him be able to scheme up like that pressure and that ability to get after the quarterback. Not there. Like I think, you know, in a defense like Houston, like where you have Hunter and Anderson, one of those 2 guys can pop off on the sack numbers, but it's really tough to even have 2 guys in the same defense have 10 sacks. Forget about, you know, like a guy that doesn't have lofty expectations. If anyone I feel like should lead the Patriots in sacks, I think it'll be Keon White instead of Uche. My honest opinion.
It's a good pick. I mean, it is a good pick. I do have high hopes for Keon White. I do think that you can plug Josh Uche in, but again, we'll see. One of the other things about the Patriots is the Patriot way is you find a random piece that ends up fitting really, really well, and they play really, really well. It's the same thing with Duggar. Like, again, we took him in the second round, yeah, but everyone's listening. Like, why the fuck did we take Duggar? Look at what he's done.
Yeah.
Jabril Peppers had a career resurgence with the Patriots.
As far as draft picks go, though, like I feel like Duggar was the last guy that was really the case for. If you want me to be honest,
unless Keon White steps it up this year, right? Like
yes.
that couldn't be one of the guys.
But I'm just saying for like solidified answers, like at this moment, like that Patriot way, Barmore was a first round pick.
Second round.
Yeah, but I mean, still like, and I know like Duggar was too, but like he was. I mean, that was a D2.
Big you're looking at an Alabama prospect.
Yeah, like that's
for Christian Barmore.
That's what I'm talking about. Like Uche, like I don't even know like where Uche like went to school like that. And
Michigan
was it? I don't know.
I thought it was something.
I didn't think it was like a big school like that, but maybe it was. Maybe I'm wrong.
We'll see. We'll look it up after the show.
Yeah, we'll fact check that.
My last question for you before we get on, because now we're just pass rating.
Yeah, it's all good.
And this does tie into the Patriots defense. Do you think looking at the offense, a guy like Alex Van Pelt, who's a drag you into deep waters on the kind of field, like ground and pound, like we'll run. It's 3rd down and 2. We'll throw it here and we'll get the first down and really it's not a college-style offense, but they want to keep the defense on the field for a while. That's kind of how he plays. He likes to run and just beat you down.
Time of
Do you
possession.
think that will help the defense more than what we've seen in the past 2 years where it's the quarterback is automatically not going to make it work? Because, again, Bill likes to run the football, but I'm going to tell you that I do think Alex Van Pelt is a lot better at running that kind of offense.
I think the intention is that, but I don't think that they have the offensive line to do that.
And that's the big problem that we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I think they can run the ball 25 times a game, but it's going to be like Saquon 2-3 years ago, right? If you're running the ball that many times and you're getting touched a half a yard behind the line of scrimmage, how far forward are you going to fall for that to be successful to convert first downs and have time of possession?
Yep.
Patriots aren't going to be a big playability offense unless Drake May goes in there and changes the organization. With Jacoby, they're going to be safe. They're going to be conservative. They're going to try and win games scoring 13 points. And I don't think that their offensive line is good enough to do that. And I have the same questions about the defensive line.
Yeah, that's fair. Very fair.
Let's take it over to the awards as we get into the back end of this. Going to start from the bottom with our comeback player of the year and work our way up. Just going to be quick here. I think it's Aaron Rodgers. Like if you have
Aaron Rodgers.
If you have a quarterback to his stature that comes back, and I don't even want to say plays as like a top 5 quarterback. If he comes back and plays like a top 10 quarterback where the Jets can win 9 games and sit around a wild card, that'll be enough in the New York media for them to eat it all up and be happy and shit like that. So I have Aaron Rodgers for that award. You have him there. Like I said, I think 4,300 yards and 27 plus touchdowns can do that for them. Totally absolutely. Let's go to rookies. Interested to see what you have here.
Before we do rookies, do you have a most improved player?
I don't have a most improved player, so go ahead.
I'm going to drop one.
Go ahead.
Will Anderson.
Okay.
I think he played good last year. I think he's about to be an elite player this year.
Okay.
I think we're looking at 15 plus sacks.
Wow.
Be very, very big for a DeMeco Ryans offense at a position that DeMeco Ryans kind of knows how to coach better than all others.
For sure.
So I think he just has a lot of opportunity there, and I think
Will Anderson's like a spitting image of what DeMeco Ryans was in his
literally,
career.
but I think better.
Dude,
and
more talented?
More talented. I think the raw talent is there. Coming from a guy that played under Nick? He played under Nick Saban.
Yeah.
So I just think it's all there. So we'll see.
I don't have a most improved though. That's okay.
We'll jump to the rookies. You want D-Roy or O'Roy first?
You go. Go ahead. Tell me what you
D-Roy?
got.
You might have the same one. I'm going Byron Murphy of the Seattle Seahawks.
Same thing.
I think he fits so fucking good in that system. It's going to be very scary to see.
He fell too far for the impact that he's going to have in the NFL. And I was watching somebody talk about Travis Hunter today, and it was like, regardless of how you value the quarterback position, like when someone's different, like it doesn't matter like what position they play. Like you go and get like a surefire talent there. He's that type of a talent. And for a lot of those teams that drafted quarterbacks high, for those 5 or 6 teams that did, Byron Murphy would have walked into a lot of those teams and been the best player on that entire team.
Immediately. Dude,
yeah.
He's so good.
So
and he's getting coached up by some of the best people, like in terms of players. Like you got a Leonard Williams there now who's big. De'Aaron Payne plays really well. So you're in a Seattle team, and Seattle's going to be a really hard place to play. Quarterback doesn't know what they're calling. Byron Murphy's coming after you.
Imagine a team like the Raiders got a Byron Murphy, and you had Wilkins, Murphy, Crosby, Wilson. Like then it would have been practically unstoppable, like regardless of what you had, like to score against them.
Yep.
And I actually think, like, I'm not going to compare him to Aaron Donald because that's just not fair, because Aaron Donald's like an absolute freak, but he's the closest thing I've seen to him in some time, and I actually feel like it's a mix of like Aaron Donald's like talent with like Ndamukong Suh's like explosiveness, and their dominance together is just like, hey, Byron Murphy.
Bro, it's crazy that you get like a Byron Murphy, and then you have like Jalen Carter from last year. Those are 2 guys that are going to be long-standing running the league.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be awesome to see.
And on the offensive
Defense is
side,
back, baby.
Yeah, no, it is.
Defense is fucking back.
I'm so happy that we're talking about it the way we are too. But the offensive side, like, I don't think mine's like that much. Like, I've been talking about it.
Sure.
It's Jaden Daniels. Like, I
love it.
I think like even if MHJ or Neighbors have a good year, like we know how these awards go with like the quarterback position. I think like if he throws for over 3,500 yards, and like even if they win like 7-8 games, and if he has 10 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, like obviously more than 10 touchdowns, but can run the ball successfully, like I feel like excitement around Washington is very possible, and I think that's all because of Jaden Daniels.
Love it. So
You're going Caleb?
I'm not going Caleb. I'm not going quarterback. Marvin Harrison Jr. is my one, but I do have a 2 that I think is a little hot take. But dude, I'd be remiss to tell you that it's impossible.
Okay.
Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
I think Brock Bowers has the chance to catch for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns
Wow.
this year. He seriously has the chance, and if he does that, you're looking at a tight end that if he does that and the Raiders are all of a sudden a 9-8, 10-7 team sneak into the playoffs, you're going, holy fuck, look at what Brock Bowers just did for them, and they flipped a coin between him and Terry and Arnold. So,
yeah. I know.
Crazy. I think he seriously has that ability where people were talking about Kyle Pitts as like being a game-changing tight end. Brock Bowers is that dude.
Just real interesting, like with the whole like Michael Mayer thing, like too. Like he was a very high pick. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
and I think he'll have some success this year. But I just think Brock Bowers is on another level than people.
Yeah, I mean, like his pass catching ability is like just drastically different than that dude's. But offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year. My defensive player of the year we already mentioned, and the offensive player of the year we both mentioned. So I'm not gonna elaborate too much on it. Max Crosby on the defensive side and Jamar Chase on the offensive side. Like I just think like if it all, you get the same thing.
I can't believe we have the same exact thing. We have the exact same
That's how you know it's not going to happen.
I know.
Last time Twon did this to me, it was a wrap.
Oh, my God.
No, but I just think, like, hey, like, if I'm going to talk about Jamar Chase catching 1,800 yards and Max Crosby leading the NFL and sacks, like, that's the recognition that they should get, and that's the expectations for them.
Who's another option for those guys? Like, who's another option for that position? Because usually they're going to go with someone other than a quarterback because MVP is going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, like, if the Jets are good, like, Garrett Wilson would be an interesting name, or Breece Hall, like, you know what I mean? Like, if Bijan gets that 2,000 scrimmage, like we were just predicting on the bold predictions, go and check that out. Definitely, like, an award that would get handed to him. Not to sound cliche, but, like, Tyreek's always, like, in that conversation. Yep. So that's just kind of where I'm at. Like, I think offensive player of the year is a little bit different because I feel like where the MVP is a quarterback award, like offensive player of the year typically like
anti-quarterback
isn't. Yeah. Interesting, like off guard type of take. The Bears are good. Like maybe one of those wide receivers, like Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Like not saying it can't be Odunze, but just hard to imagine that like he gets enough slice of the pie to get offensive rookie of the year. Forget about offensive player of the year.
Watch out. Now, I know he said no quarterbacks, but watch out if this guy has the year that we've been talking about and this team makes the playoffs and makes a splash, Anthony Richardson could get in that conversation with the rushing and passing ability.
Absolutely.
If you look at a guy that if he ends up with like 45 total touchdowns, 38 in the air, 7, 8 on the ground,
yeah,
and he throws for, 3,800 yards, 4,000 yards, rushes for another 500. That's an offensive player of the year type season.
JT could be up there. Yep. So there's a lot of guys, honestly. Depends on, team success and stuff like that. So that's why before the season it's kind of so hard to like make like those predictions. And we got 2 more awards left. Did you have any other names that you kind of want to toss around with those categories before we move on to the next 2?
D-Roy, I mean, if he plays like I thought, I mean, Will Anderson could be one of those guys. Yeah, Depoy, sorry. Depoy could be Will Anderson. Again, you can always throw Mike in that conversation. TJ, as long as he's playing, is going to be in that conversation. As far as like a hotter take goes, don't really know what else I have. Maybe Rashawn Gary. Like maybe he is that good in that offense or in that defense where he makes that big of an impact.
Grady Jarrett.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson. Again, another name in that. So
yeah. No, absolutely. All right, we got Coach of the Year and MVP. Are you going D'Amico Ryans for Coach of the Year?
No.
Oh, okay. Give me.
Matt LaFleur.
Wow. Okay. Let's go.
Love Matt LaFleur.
Now you're talking my language.
I think you're going to see an awesome year from Green Bay this year, and I think you're going to have the 2 coaches in that division as the ones duking it out for it. But I think the Packers, while I do think the Lions will make it further in the playoffs. I think the Packers will have the better record. So I'm going to go with Matt LaFleur here. And I think that when you look at the Packers roster, it's good because of what they made it. Whereas if you look at the Lions roster, yeah, it's good because of what they made it, but they had pieces that are like, they are more flashy than what the Packers really have.
I thought it was a shoo-in for Antonio Pierce or D'Amico Ryans.
I do think those are 2 guys that can be in the conversation. But again, I think it's Matt LaFleur's time, and I think it's undeniable at one point, like where if he does it year in and year out and year in and year out, he deserves it.
No, absolutely. I mean, I just feel like if you heard my takes all offseason, this makes a lot of sense. Do you want to take a guess at mine before I announce and share?
Steichen?
No, not Steichen. Dan Quinn.
All right, Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I think if Washington has the season that I think that they're going to have this year, I think it's Dan Quinn. And the reason why, part of the reason, like not only do I think Washington got drastically like more talented like this year, But you talked about like that division, like the Eagles are coming from like an obstacle that they have to overcome. The Cowboys didn't really improve their personnel, and the Giants are just like the Giants. So it's just like, hey, like if Washington was to win that division, that would mean Dan Quinn's impact was positive year one. It means that they got the right guy in Jaden Daniels. And that also means that if they win 8+ games, that they're successful on both sides of the ball. And you have to think that that organization is feeling great about their future with Kingsbury, with Quinn, about it not being about, the owner and the hypocrisy and the whole Trent Williams deal and like all that drama. Like you didn't hear that all offseason. It was great. You know what I mean? Like usually you're laughing at like a team like Washington. It's like, oh, they suck. It's another off season. Their owner sucks. They like just fucking every team pissing on them all year. You know what I mean?
That's a good spicy one too. If I'm being honest, don't know how much I love Dan Quinn as a coach.
Yeah.
But if Washington does well and he's like the piece that kind of plugs in there, like it definitely could be, I have a question for you. Who's a coach that everyone's going to talk about as should be one of the coaches of the year, but stands no fucking chance in your eyes?
Oh. So a good season, you're saying,
good
right?
season, someone that everyone's going to be like, dude, this guy should be coach of the year. But when you look at him, you're like, I don't fucking think so. I got one. Maybe I'll get the juices flowing with it. Yeah. I say Robert Saleh.
Okay.
I think that they can have a good season, and I think people are going to go, Robert Saleh's got to be. But I just think he stands a chance.
I think his seat's like too hot for that to kind of be the case. Yep. I'm trying to be like kind of like crazy here, like with this one. I kind of want to go Mike McDaniel. No. I'm sorry. Mike McDonald. Up in Seattle. Okay. Seattle, yeah. Not Mike McDaniel, sorry. Even like that could be an interesting one.
In there, yeah. People are gonna go, oh, the Dolphins are sick again.
For sure. But if Seattle was to like, I don't even think it would be a surprise if Seattle won 10 games, like if you kind of want me to be honest with you. But I think like post Pete Carroll era, there's a lot of like questions, but like there wasn't a loud offseason for Seattle. And I don't ever feel like it really is. I think they're sound, and I feel like what he did with like Justin Madubuike last year as a DC like for Baltimore, he gets Byron Murphy now. Like he gets him, he gets Leonard Williams. Like they have so many first round picks. They have great corners. Like, and we talk about like their offense and start salivating at the mouth when like we're talking about, a Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf. And obviously, there's questions like Geno Smith and like Sam Howell and stuff, but there's depth and there's a tad bit of confidence between both of those guys, especially compared to some of the other quarterback rooms around, the NFL. If you really want me to be like outlandish and like exponentially wild, if the Panthers found a way to win 7 games, like that dude Canales could definitely, be a conversation. But I actually don't think that there's like a 10th of a chance that it can be them.
What about Harbaugh? He could be a sneaky could win it.
No, they could. I just don't see them having like an 8-9 win season this year.
I don't either.
And I think like that might be more of like a next year conversation rather than like right now. But let's move on to MVP. And you guys heard me say this like a couple times. Josh Allen?
Yep.
Yeah, Josh Allen. Look, I don't expect 20 plus turnovers from him. I think that we say the same thing. It's addition by subtraction. We think that he has the talent and the ability to do so. It's kind of when and not like if. And I think like Kincaid's going to help him get there. I think he's going to be better in his decision making. I think like I don't want to say that their era or window is closing because I think they still have a better opportunity to I don't want to say a better opportunity to win than the 49ers, but they might have a longer opportunity to win than a team like the 49ers at this point, because I just feel like they're starting to go to like that younger transition where like the 49ers are like trying to piece every veteran together that they can just with like while Purdy's on like this type of a contract and stuff. So it is Josh Allen. If I had to go,
give me 2 other names in the conversation though. It's Josh Allen and then 2 other guys in the race. Who do you got?
Yeah, if I had to go like another MVP type of talk, like
I'm going to throw Stroud in there.
Go ahead. I knew you were, so that's why I wasn't going to go Houston. If you want to talk about like teams in the AFC, like I have no problem with tossing Jordan Love and Jared Goff in this conversation
Jordan
right
Love
now.
is my other guy, yeah.
Yeah, like it's like I think it's like really cliche at this point, honestly, but we know it's a quarterback award, so it's definitely going to that position. A guy like Kyler Murray isn't going to have his team good enough to be like an MVP candidate or anything like that.
Always Pat Mahomes could be in the conversation, but I just don't think they're going to give it to the same guy.
No, it's not going to be Lamar for 2 years in a row. I'd love to say Dak if like the Cowboys were a little bit better, but I just don't think like it's going to be like that type of direction, and I'm not confident about it being Hurts. So that's why I would go like Goff or Love, honestly, but not too many other names like at the top of my head that I want to like add to that conversation. So
I like it. Mine would have been Stroud, Love, Josh Allen. Again, Mahomes is always in that conversation, but I just don't think they'll give it to him.
For sure.
You want my honest opinion? If he's I know you like Burrow too. Like Burrow, if he's healthy, could always be in that.
Yeah, I'm not feeling Burrow on the MVP. I think he's
Stafford.
If
they're healthy.
I'm more concerned about his like ability to stay healthy rather than anything else. Yeah, like definitely not. Like if the Colts win 12 games, maybe Anthony Richardson, but like I think like there's a better chance that Patrick Mahomes would get it than a guy like him. Just kind of like you said.
Too much team on Indy. Like for Indy to be that successful, it needs to be a team thing. It can't just be Anthony Richardson carrying them.
For sure. Since the Sandbox fans, these were our stat leaders and award predictions. The offseason's really over. It's over.
Oh, it's football time, baby.
Yeah.
We're coming up on Labor Day and then next weekend, man.
I'll be drafting the next 4 days straight, honestly. I'm excited about it. I know I'll probably be exhausted by the time it's done. Excited that we have 5 episodes to share with you guys before, the start of the NFL draft day with Prosciutto Papi. We have our stat leaders, award predictions, bold predictions, power rankings. What else am I missing? Anything else? I don't think so.
Those are the ones we just ripped through.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time of year. We'll be back with our fantasy rankings on a weekly basis. Those will be out every Wednesday morning throughout the season, so make sure you guys are following along. Reminder that the power rankings are every 4 weeks throughout, so after week 4, you guys will get those, our top 10 teams in the NFL. A lot of UFC stuff going on, so make sure you guys are staying in the loop, with Sandbox MMA. An exciting, live podcast conversations going on right now for the end of September throughout October and even potentially November. We're talking about two or three tailgates. We're talking about back at Christine's and back at Sammy Carlos. So we'll see what happens.
Love it. And thank you all for tuning in. And again, thanks for everyone that showed up to the 5-year event too. We got to always say thank you to that. It was such a good event. Great performances by Kev and Tony, and just we had an awesome time. So thanks everyone for showing up.
You guys know the deal. Peace, love, 5 stars, nothing less.